All right, let's jump right into this. I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Picture a forest. The trees are tall, the air's got that nice cool chill to it, and it's just incredibly still. Now, sitting right there, all alone under an apple tree, is a young man. He isn't doing anything crazy or out of the ordinary. He's literally just thinking. But in this explainer, we're going to explore how that single, quiet moment completely rewired not just his life, but the entire world.
So what happens when you truly listen to the universe? This is the story of someone who looked at the absolute most ordinary things and asked the kind of questions literally no one else was asking. It's the story of a guy who spent his entire life just listening to the stillness of the world. And, as you'll see, how the universe, in all its wild complexity, finally answered him back.
Part 1. A quiet, unlikely beginning.
Okay, so picture a 17th century world. It's vastly different from ours. No computers, obviously no electricity or cars. Just farmlands and these huge, vast skies that people wondered about, but rarely actually understood. And right in the middle of this, our story starts with a surprisingly fragile beginning. Back in 1642, in this tiny English village called Woolsthorpe, Isaac Newton was born. But he wasn't exactly born strong. He was premature, literally so tiny his mother said he could fit inside a large mug. His dad had already passed away before he was even born, and by the time he was 3, his mom left to remarry, leaving him behind. Man, that kind of profound loneliness, it definitely leaves a mark. While all the other kids were outside running around, playing loudly, Isaac was just sitting in quiet corners. He'd build little windmills and paper kites, obsessively studying how water moved. Fast forward a bit to his young adulthood, and that lonely, super curious kid arrives at Cambridge University. And there, finally, among all those dusty math and astronomy books, he finds a place where he truly belongs.
Part 2. The Power of Solitude. Well, just as Isaac was really finding his footing and feeling at home at Cambridge, a terrible illness, the Great Plague, began sweeping across England. The university actually had to shut its doors. Students were sent packing, and Isaac had to retreat far away from his professors, right back to the deep stillness of his country home in Woolsthorpe. From 1665 to 1667, these became known as the Plague Years, he lived in total isolation. Now, for most university students, this was a massive, terrible interruption. But for Isaac, it actually sparked what were probably the most extraordinary 2 years in the entire history of science. Why? Because for the very first time, he had absolutely nothing but quiet, deep, patient solitude. With no professors looking over his shoulder and no classmates to debate, he finally had the stillness he needed to really truly think.
And you've got to look at what came out of that quiet time. He started studying light. Using nothing but a simple glass prism, he made a totally staggering discovery. He figured out that white light isn't actually just one color. When he passed light through that piece of glass, it spread apart to reveal this spectrum of beautifully hidden colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. It was this incredibly gentle, quiet discovery, but it completely turned the scientific world upside down.
But, he definitely didn't stop there. He quickly realized that to understand a world that was constantly moving and shifting, the existing math of his day just wasn't going to cut it. So, what does he do? He develops what he called the method of fluxions. He essentially invents a completely new mathematical framework, entirely from scratch, just to solve this problem. Today, we all know this incredible, utterly indispensable tool as calculus.
Part 3. The Apple and Gravity.
All right, let's set the scene again. It's a still, calm afternoon in that same Woolsthorpe garden. Isaac's just sitting there, right? And suddenly, from a branch right above him, an apple falls to the ground. Now, pretty much everyone has seen an apple fall, and they never give it a second thought. But Newton asked a profoundly fundamental question. Why did the apple fall down and not up? Why not sideways? Why is it always heading directly toward the earth? It's honestly a true testament to the sheer simplicity of his genius. He didn't just accept this superordinary thing happening in front of him, he actually paused to ask exactly why it was happening. And then it hit him. He realized that whatever this invisible, powerful force was that pulled the apple straight to the dirt, it didn't just stop at the treetops. He thought, what if that exact same pull was reaching all the way out into the night sky? What if it was the exact same force pulling on the moon, keeping the planets in their orbits, and basically holding the entire universe together? This right here, this moment, was the breathtaking birth of his theory of gravity.
Part 4. Rewriting the Universe's Rules.
When the plague finally ended, Newton headed back to Cambridge, but he was a profoundly changed man. Those quiet months had just completely deepened his mind. At only 26 years old, he became a full professor, which is a genuinely rare achievement. He even went on to build the very first reflecting telescope. He used mirrors instead of glass lenses to observe the stars, and it completely blew the minds of astronomers all across Europe. But here's the thing about Newton. He was a highly cautious guy. He wasn't the type to just rush his ideas out into the world. He liked to take his time, filling endless notebooks, obsessively refining every single calculation. So it actually wasn't until 1687, after years and years of this intense, patient preparation, that he finally published his absolute masterpiece, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or as we usually call it, simply the Principia.
Inside that incredibly dense, Latin-filled book were his famous 3 laws of motion. Step 1, an object stays still or keeps moving in a straight line unless it's pushed or pulled. Step 2, force, mass, and movement are all intimately connected. And step 3, which you've probably heard, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. With these clear, elegant rules, Newton essentially demystified almost everything that moves in our physical world, from the crashing ocean tides all the way down to a thrown stone.
He proved that the universe was not some chaotic, unknowable mystery. It was a beautiful, ordered, mathematical system. This was really the profound climax of all those lonely years of his youth. Suddenly, thanks to one guy just thinking quietly in a small room, the terrifying, random-seeming universe was revealed to be perfectly ordered and beautifully predictable.
Part 5. The Complicated Human.
Now, while his mind was undeniably brilliant, Isaac Newton the man was, well, he was incredibly complicated. He was super serious, deeply private, and honestly, he could be pretty stubborn. He really struggled to connect with other people and actually had very few close friends throughout his entire life. On the public stage, sure, he achieved monumental success. He became master of the Royal Mint, where he literally fought counterfeiters. He served as president of the Royal Society for 24 years, and he was officially knighted in 1705. But privately? Kind of a different story. He got caught up in this absolutely bitter, years-long rivalry with Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz over who actually invented calculus first. And in secret, he spent countless hours diving deep into alchemy, literally trying to turn base metals into gold, as well as obsessive theology, relentlessly searching for some hidden, divine meaning behind all things.
At 84 years old, Sir Isaac Newton peacefully passed away in his sleep. This was in 1727. He was a guy who never married, never had any kids. His life was entirely his work. But man, his legacy was just so vast and universally respected that the people of England mourned him deeply. They gave him the ultimate honor of being buried right in Westminster Abbey.
Part 6, On Shoulders of Giants.
When we look back at Newton's life today, it's pretty clear his work didn't just end in 1777. Those quiet little questions he asked under that apple tree, they still echo today in literally every modern science textbook you pick up, in the lenses of the telescopes we look through, and in the satellites currently zipping around our planet. But he totally recognized this continuum. He famously and humbly said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." He knew he didn't just manifest this knowledge out of thin air. He understood that his monumental discoveries were built right on top of the thinkers who came before him, folks like Galileo, Kepler, Descartes. He saw himself as just one part of a much longer continuing human journey.
So I'll leave you with this. What hidden secrets will you find if you just pause, look at the world around you, and simply ask why? Learning is a journey, and every single journey starts with a simple, quiet decision to just pay attention. The next time you feel completely overwhelmed by all the noise of the world, I want you to remember that quiet boy from Woolsthorpe. Because if he could unlock the fundamental rules of the universe just by listening to the stillness, what incredible things might you discover if you take a moment to do the exact same? Keep exploring, guys, and always keep asking questions.